Hey everybody, welcome to IA Command. On this episode, we're going to talk about some Season 4 cards that have just recently been revealed. And that is the Clan of Two attachment and the Child companion. So this is obviously, a lot of people know this more as Baby Yoda. And by the way, this, well, I guess I'll put in the description, but this may be a spoiler for people that haven't seen the first episode of The Mandalorian. But anyway, we're not really going to talk about the TV show. I mostly just want to talk about what these cards actually do. I think they can be a little bit on the complex side for people that are just trying to read them. So with this video, what I'm going to try and do is break down what they do. But I think the best way to break down and actually understand how these cards work is to just see them in action. So let's just look at the cards real quick here. For those of you that haven't seen them, and by the way, all the Season 4 cards that are being previewed are on display in the gallery at IAContinuityproject.com. So let's start with the child. So the child is a companion, and for those that don't know how those work, the companion is a type of figure that was introduced in the expansions by FFG. It's basically a little token that takes up the same amount of space as a figure. But it doesn't block line of sight, and you can move, figures can kind of move through it as if it's not there. And for this particular companion, the child, as we're calling it, since that's the official name, it actually has it has two abilities. And you'll notice, first of all, it doesn't have an attack die, so it can't really attack. Even if something were to add dice to its attack pool, since it doesn't have an attack type, it can't declare an attack. You'll notice it has only 2 health, because it's a baby. It's got 3 speed though, it can waddle pretty good. And it's got a white defense die because, it might miss if you attack it, but otherwise it's not got much armor going on. And for the abilities, it's got a special action, which is Force Heal, and it costs 2 strain. So what that means, of course, is that since it only has 2 health, you're going to have to discard a card the first time you use it from your deck. And then for any subsequent uses, you'll have to discard 2 cards if you want to keep the child alive. And that's because the Force Heal is not something it can really spam. It's something in the lore that it does once in a while when it really needs to, and we kind of want it to reflect that. But it does heal an adjacent friendly figure for 2 damage. And then the second ability is Force Exhaustion. So when an attack is declared targeting the child or the figure that has the attachment, which brings the child, you can incapacitate the child, and if you do, the attacker removes 1 attack die from the attack pool and becomes weakened. Now, for those who play campaign may be familiar with incapacitated. It's actually a rule. It's an existing rule. And what you do is when a figure is incapacitated, it's not removed from the map, but it's almost like it's not there anymore because you can't use abilities on it. You can't target it for attacks. It can't perform actions. It can't activate. Well, it can activate, but it can't perform any actions or use any abilities. It can't suffer damage. It can't spend movement points. It can be pushed, but it can't be pushed by abilities that don't affect incapacitated figures. So it's basically like it's not there. It kind of goes to sleep is the idea. But for that, you get to do a big defensive ability on an opponent's attack. Weaken, they lose a surge on the attack. They lose an attack die, so quite strong. And then now let's look at the card that actually brings it. Now this is an attachment, and this is for the Scum faction or Mercenary faction. You can only put it on a unique Guardian. And by the way, we do have now both the Mandalorian and IG-11 have been revealed for Season 4, and they are both Guardian figures. But you can put it on also Rebel Guardians if you can get those into your list with something like Temporary Alliance. I don't think there's any unique Guardian droids in the Empire faction, so I don't think you can bring any Guardians in with Elite Jawa, but maybe in the future. But anyway, so let's go through what it does here. So at the start of the mission, you place the child companion in an adjacent space. The child activates at the start or end of your activation. At the end of your activation, push the child figure or its incapacitated token to an adjacent space. And we had to add that part so that way this is an ability that can interact with an incapacitated figure. The second part is the child cannot suffer damage outside of its activation unless it is the target of an attack. So this is important because it means that the child is basically immune to random damage like blast, force choke, grenades, cleave, anything like that, unless it is the figure that's being attacked. We found it was just too easy for it to get removed from the board by random damage, incidental damage. But we wanted opponents to still be able to interact with it in a meaningful way. And then finally, the last ability here is while you are defeated, so that's the guardian figure that has the attachment on it, a unique figure may retrieve the child or its incapacitated token to gain 1 VP. So what that means is once the unique guardian that has this attachment has been defeated, another unique figure, either a friendly figure to that guardian or an opponent's figure, can come up and spend an action to basically grab the child, pick it up and carry it, and gain 1 VP. So let's kind of look at how this actually works in a game. So I'm going to zoom out here. We've got a map set up. This is the nice Tabletop Simulator mod by Travis. I think he's actually got his module updated with the new cards, but I just put these in here myself. So we've got kind of a hypothetical here set up. So let's actually move Onar. And we'll put the child here in an adjacent spot. So we've got Onar, he's a guardian too. And I didn't want to make the cards for the other ones. But we've got Onar, and he's a guardian, and he's unique. We've got the little dot there. So we put the Clan of 2 attachment on Onar. And in this hypothetical, he's in a list with Boba Fett. So what's happening here is we'll say we're like at the end of round 1, and we're on the Coruscant Senate map, Coruscant Senate office map. And let's see. Let's grab some dice here. Oops. There we go. So we've got an enemy figure, Sabine, has come up and double moved with some movement and maybe Gideon. And she came up here. Boba Fett already activated, moved up here. And she went ahead and did her grenade ability. And she got 2 damage on Boba Fett there with her grenade. How lucky. So now we'll say Onar, that was the last activation for the rebels, and we'll say Onar is going to be the last activation for the mercenaries here. So Onar will activate, and we'll have him double move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he'll move here. And then what's going to happen is, again, at the end of your activation, we push the child to an adjacent space. So this is basically an infinite push. You'll just push the child as far as you have to. And then it has to be adjacent, so it can't be directly on Onar, because that's not... well, you know what? It can be. So I'll have to actually look that up. So we'll go ahead and put the child right here. So he gets pushed there, and now, because that was the end of Onar's activation, we'll go ahead and activate the child. And we'll use Force Heal since Boba's been damaged by that grenade. So what we'll do is we'll take 1 damage on the child for 1 strain, and then we mill for the other strain. And of course we can mill from our command deck. We'll just say this is it. So we'll go ahead and pitch way out, hit and run. And you could actually pitch 2 cards here, but usually you'll pitch 1. So discard the top card of our deck, and now we get to heal 2 damage off of Boba Fett. And let's say in this scenario, we'll say that Sabine was focused. Okay, so that's how it goes. So now we'll ready everything. And we'll say Sabine, the rebel players are getting initiative. And we'll put Onar here. We'll say he moved there. So the rebel players get initiative here. So now what Sabine's going to do is she'll go ahead and use her grenade ability. And for those who are not familiar with Sabine, there's her parting gift grenade ability. And she'll put a grenade right on top of Boba. 1, 2, 3. And she rolls the die. And we'll say she gets something really good. Another 2 damage. So Boba's going to take 2. Onar's going to take 2. Child's not going to take any damage because it's being protected by this Clan of 2 card here. So because the child's not activating and is not being attacked, it doesn't suffer any damage. So the child's safe. So now we'll have Sabine. She did that, didn't cost an action, and we'll have her go 1, 2, 3 to here. And now she can attack. But she decides she doesn't want to attack Boba because, he's tough. He's got really strong armor, and there's also Onar to add to that. And Onar's got the same amount of damage, so might as well shoot at Onar here, since she's focused. So, since Onar has the Clan of Two attachment, and the child hasn't been incapacitated yet, the child can use Force Exhaustion here. So, usually you'll use like a marker or token just to show that the child's been exhausted. I think a strain token is totally appropriate. And that just shows that it's been incapacitated because... you can also like turn the card upside down if that helps you remember. And so what will happen is normally here, Sabine would be rolling blue, green, green, and then because she's focused, she'd be rolling another green. But now when the child uses Force Exhaustion, Sabine will become weakened, which means that she's going to lose one of her surges when she rolls, and she has to choose one of her attack dice to get rid of. In this case, she's going to be shooting at 1, 2, 3, 4, range 5. So I don't think Sabine wants to get rid of this blue die. So she'll choose to get rid of a green. And then she'll attack with her roll. And, maybe we'll say it's something like that. So now not only has she lost a green die from her attack, she'll also lose this surge from the weaken, which means she's not going to be able to use her surge to do blast 1 and +1 damage. And so Onar is just going to take 3 damage from that. And probably would have taken 6 or more if it hadn't been for the child. And she loses her focus and finish her movement here. And now since the child's incapacitated, for the rest of the game it can't use any of its abilities. So can't use Force Exhaustion, can't use Force Heal. But what will happen is, if, let's say, some other figure comes in and defeats Onar, the child's going to stay on the map. Even if it wasn't incapacitated. Like, let's say it didn't incapacitate itself. And by the way, you can use Force Exhaustion when the child is attacked as well. So you really never have to worry about it being defeated. But your opponent can attack it to incapacitate it and take away its abilities from you. But let's say, Onar died to like cleave, or he died to the grenade, and the child couldn't protect him, and he waited too long to use Force Exhaustion. The child will stay on the board, and now at this point it could be attacked, but it could still use Force Exhaustion even while the Guardian's dead. And then finally, when the Guardian figure has been defeated and is no longer in play, Clan of Two lets a unique figure pick up or retrieve the child for an action. So we'll say that like on the following round, Onar died, and now Boba's getting to activate, and he says, "Oh, the child's there, and there's no one protecting it. Even Friendly's not protecting it." And whoop, he just picks it up, and now he's carrying it. And his controller gets 1 VP, 1 victory point. But you got to be careful because, like, if Boba dies, he's carrying it, and when you're carrying an object or a token and you die, the token gets dropped in your space. And now another figure could come up and pick it up. Like if Sabine was still around, she could come 1, 2, 3, 4 and grab the child and score 1 VP for her controller. So in that way, the child kind of can be passed around and picked up over and over for little tiny increments of victory points. So I hope that kind of shows you how the card works, sort of how the damage prevention works, how Force Heal is meant to work, and Force Exhaustion, and then how it's meant to be picked up back and forth. I think this is going to be a really fun card for people to play. I think there's a lot of strategic back and forth of, do you waste an attack on the child to stop it from using Force Heal, and to stop it from using Force Exhaustion on its defender? Do you really go for the defender, for the clan of 2 figure, and then try to get it, try to pick up the child, or do not attack the clan of 2 figure because you're worried that they'll just pick up the child themselves. It's a really fun card. I think it's really worth its 1 point as well. And I hope you guys try it out, and I hope it looks fun to you guys. So anyway, that's my video for how to use Clan of 2 and the Child. And peace out. See you guys later.